Well, Richard, welcome to the program, and let's look back at the year. It's been a big year for you personally, of course, taking on the chairmanship of the dairy sector of Federated Farmers, which is a great honour. How's it been?
Yeah, look, it's been great. A little bit unexpected, and it's taken a little bit to grow into the role and understand all of the key responsibilities and develop the relationships needed to make it all work. But I think I'm there now, and I'm really enjoying it.
And what do you think is your first big take out of the experience?
I think whenever you take a step up in Feds, you learn more and more about the organisation and some of the inner workings, and just how much work a board member and an industry chair does. They say it's quite a bit, but it's always a bit more than they suggest when they ask you to take on the role. I can assure you that.
That sounds delightfully understated. Oh yeah, quite a bit more work, but you'll be right.
Yeah.
How has the year been? I mean, I know it's been a challenge, that's obvious, and a lot of people are, really ready to say farewell to 22, but the thought that 2023 might not be a lot better is kind of alarming.
But look, it's been challenging in terms of the weather. I don't know any region that's had a phenomenal year from a weather point of view, and certainly plenty that have had their crops flooded multiple times and, all sorts of issues with wet winters and that sort of thing. So it's been a hard year to look like a good farmer, would be my comment there, in terms of on-farm, and obviously all the challenges around costs. Costs just keep going up and in different sort of proportions, which can mean that your farming business, the drivers of profit can essentially change, and what was a profitable activity, no longer is, and we need to try and find a different way of doing things that's a bit cheaper. So it's been a bit like that and quite difficult. And then I guess on the Fed, the Fed space or the farming legislation space, it's been incredibly challenging. It's just a continuation of previous years, I suppose, in terms of this huge onslaught of legislation or potential legislation coming through that we've had to consult on and try and get into a better space. I'm not going to say we've achieved it with everything. To be perfectly honest, it's been a real challenge. I'm looking forward to next year heading into an election year where the politicians become a bit more interested in listening and a little bit more and a little less focused on ramming policy through with little to no consultation.
I mean, how do you see it going next year? The pressure's on the government. They want to get stuff done before, the election, because who knows what will happen after that. But do you see them ramping up even further, or do you feel they might, because they have to listen, as you point it, they might just peg it back a wee bit?
Yeah, look, it's certainly very hard to get elected if you're not prepared to listen to the people who are going to vote for you, right? So I think we'll see a lot more listening, which will be great. And I do think they're going to have to slow some stuff down, because it's quite clear they haven't consulted enough and they haven't got the public on board with a lot of things. And so they're going to have to slow down and consult better in that respect and get a mandate from from voters essentially in order to carry on with things. There'll be some things that they really want to get through, though, and they will push to get them through, I think, with the time that they've got before everyone gets into election mode. So it's going to be a matter of sort of waiting to see what their priorities are in that respect, which I think we'll know early in the new year.
So has there been a highlight? What's something that you would like to take out of 2022 that's perhaps a positive?
Look, one thing that I just absolutely loved was seeing the public's response to the government's response to Hawaii Kanoa or agriculture and emissions. There's realization that, what was being proposed was going to result in a 20% reduction in sheep and beef farms. And then, more and more farms going to pines and that sort of thing. And then also this understanding of the concept of emissions leakage, which I don't think was widely understood up until then, whereby essentially when we close down a sheep and beef farm or a dairy farm and therefore no longer produce the product, a farmer overseas with a higher emissions profile just steps in and produces the product instead. And we actually wind up thinking we're saving the world without actually saving anything. And that's why we need to be so careful about what we're doing and find ways to reduce our emissions without reducing our food output. And the way the public picked up on that and said, hang on, why are we doing this and is this worth it? And they actually stepped in many ways and defended farming, which was just fantastic. So that's certainly my positive for the year, Mark.
And I guess a final little mention for all your dairy farmers that you represent through Federated Farmers. What would you like to say as we close out the year?
Have a great Christmas. and a happy new year. You've certainly deserved it. It's been a hell of a year to get through with the winter and the spring that we've had in particular. Great to have some rain leading up to Christmas. I know everyone in town won't be enjoying it as much, but I tell you what, it means we're not feeding out over Christmas, hopefully. And we're going to have some grass going into summer. So hang in there, enjoy it, and we'll see you in the new year.